Good morning, class. So today we're looking at lesson 4, input and string interpolation. We're also going to review some concepts from lesson 3. So let's get right to it. So I'm in Replit. Hopefully let me increase the font size a little bit. That makes it a little easier to see. We don't need this sidebar, so we'll close that out. Our console doesn't need to be as big. So the first thing is we learned about variables. So we could create variables simply by stating the name and setting it equal to something, such as my name. One thing I do want to review, a lot of you were doing this, which is not technically wrong. You were specifying the data type in front using this function. Now this type of function we're going to use a lot today, but for a totally different reason. So you weren't necessarily wrong in creating the variables this way, but it was a little redundant. Reason being, when you put something in quotations, it's already a string. So let's take that out and just realize that whenever you create a variable, you can simply assign it the value, and Python implicitly understands the data type. So because it has quotations, it understands that it's a string. Now, one thing we noticed about all our examples is that the values for these variables were hard-coded, meaning you specified them right in the program. It might be a little more interesting to be able to ask the user for their name. So we call this input, and nice enough, Python has a command called input. Now the input allows you, as you can see here, one of the nice things about Replit is it kind of gives you a little explanation as to how to use the input command. And it says it wants a prompt. The prompt is usually a question such as enter name, something the person can see so that they understand what you want. So let's do this. Let's ask the user for the name, and we're going to store it in a variable called name. And now let's simply print out whatever they entered into the input. So let's run it. And you should always run your programs. I've also noticed that some of you, you've been submitting work, but not actually running it, and you haven't been catching some of the errors, syntax errors that are in there. Always run your programs before you submit it. So let's run our program. And you can see here, enter name, and you see a little blinking cursor. Well, not blinking, but there's a cursor there, which means it's expecting us to type something. This came from the input command. So at this point, I'm going to type in my name, Rene Castro, hit enter, and I get my name back. All right. Let's run the program again. And just to show you, we can do it with a different name. I'm trying to think, I don't know. Joe Snuffy. And I get Joe Snuffy back. All right, so this is the first part of today's lesson, the fact that you can get input from the user. The second part of today's lesson is to teach a little bit more about the print statement. The fact that we can, instead of just saying the person's name, we could include a message. So for that, we're going to do something called a string interpolation. Very fancy word, not so hard to understand. So we're going to write the word welcome, and it'd be really cool to put the person's name inside. So let's do this. Let's, in curly brackets, put name. Now the curly bracket signifies to Python, hey, I'm going to stick a variable in here. Okay. You'll see that the words welcome literally come out to the screen, and you're used to that already. You know that anything you put inside quotations inside a print statement comes out to the screen. But you'll notice that we're not going to see the word name. We're actually going to see what the person wrote. Now, in addition to this, we also have to put the letter F in front. This combined with this is called string interpolation. It allows us to inject variables. Let's give it a try. All right, so let's come up with another name. Bart Simpson. And there you go. Okay. So this is what we want you to practice today. The idea of asking the user for some information using the input command, and then practicing this little bit here of the string interpolation, which means we start with the F, we use the curly brackets, and then we include whatever variable name we decided to use up here. So let's go back to our focus for today. Today we just reviewed input and string interpolation. Thank you.